Hi, this is Dan Pastorini, and you're listening to The Grilling Truth.
Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Grueling Truth Pick'em Show. We are at Wildcard weekend, and remember, we are brought to you by Gridiron Mo, a new interactive football app where you get to call what the offense or defense does during a live NFL game and see what all others have called also. So make sure you check them out at gridironmo.com. First off, I'm going to introduce myself, even though I'm not the biggest loser. We'll get to that in a second. But I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and right now we're going to introduce the biggest loser. If you've listened to this show over the past 9 weeks.
There we go.
We have a biggest loser every week, and he resides in California. And he makes the dumbest picks possible. He picked a tie in the Buffalo-New York Jet game. Help me introduce, he was 9-7 last week, the biggest loser, Oz Davis.
I make it fun.
For us.
Okay. All right. So we got that out of the way. We got the biggest loser out of the way. Now we'll get to the winners. Last week, there was a three-way tie for first. Brian Schmidt ended up 11-5, so at least he's not the biggest loser, Oz. So help us welcome to the show, Brian Schmidt.
Brian 11-5. We are on a roll. We're going to win this thing. I'm telling you.
All right, you are a game behind me and Matt now. So, because me, Matt, and Big Ed all went 12-4, and we're the three tied for first. Of course, that means I won because it's my show and I take all ties. So help me introduce or help me welcome to the show. He's from the Big Star Show, or Dallas Cowboys Show, who had Mark Cooper on this last week. You'll be able to check it out on thegruelingtruth.net tomorrow. Mark's ice fishing with his son. Couldn't make it this week. We'll be back next week. Big Ed Cohen.
Hey, thanks for having me. There we go. I'll take that 12-4. Big Star Show. We had Mark Cooper on. It was a really fun interview.
All right, and next up, me and this guy have been tied since the start of last year on the Pick'em Show. We ended last year after the Super Bowl in a first-place tie. We're at a tie right now, one game ahead of Brian. Help me welcome to the show. He's a San Francisco 49er fan. Don't everybody laugh because we got to introduce him, Matt Andruscavage.
Well, thanks for having me, everyone, and I'm glad we're tied, Mike, because we're going to see if one of us can actually win this thing this year.
Well, even if we don't, I win because we've already discussed I take all ties. Got a couple of dishes to the show this week. We have the biggest Miami Dolphin fan I know from Evansville, Indiana. He is on Game Day IQ every Tuesday night, usually catch the show Wednesday morning with Alan Buck, I guess he's your sidekick.
He's my sidekick.
Help me welcome to the show, Chris Cook.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me here tonight. Hopefully the Miami Dolphin fans are going to be well represented.
All right. And we also have a guy that at one point looked like we might be able to have him on a Super Bowl preview show. Looks like not so much now. He hosts the Raider Life podcast, and he hasn't given up hope yet, and Connor Cook is the second coming of Joe Montana. Help us welcome Charlie Booth to the show.
Hey, folks, absolutely the Dolphins are going to become sushi this weekend, and the Bengals and Niners are already on their lazy boys, so I'm ready for the
and the
silver
Raiders,
and black
for the first time in, 400 years are in the playoffs, so that's a good thing for you.
Well, the Raiders are going to clinch home couch advantage.
No, the Raiders are definitely going to head over to New England to visit Tom and Bill and the boys.
Yeah, that'll work out good with Connor Cook at quarterback.
You can't. But the thing is, you can't plan for a rookie.
Okay, you can't. Well, the problem is this: they'll be able to plan for a rookie because you're getting ready to play a game before you were to play that game, Charlie.
That's true. I don't know. I've been saying my prayers extra this week, fellas.
I know. I'm a Bengals fan. I know what it is, like wishing one.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be there, but
weak against rookies.
No, he's gonna be good, but I'm not scared of him. I know our defense.
All right, so we'll go ahead and we'll start. Since Charlie obviously wants to talk about his Raiders and Connor Cook, what's your takeaway? Put it like this: we'll just go around here and just give your take on the playoffs and who you think ends up in the Super Bowl. Unbiased opinions, please.
Who's starting off? I'm starting off unbiased. I think that the New York Giants are going to upset the Cowboys, and I think the Giants will be there. I'm sorry, Ed. And I think that the Raiders will be there for Cowboys-Raiders, if not Cowboys-Patriots.
All right, Oz?
Okay, well, my big mouth done got me in trouble a little bit, so I have to stay on the horse. I'm going with Patriots-Lions, but I think more realistic is Patriots.
Who just went, hopefully it wasn't the guy that picked the Raiders in the Super Bowl. All right, go ahead, Oz, before you were rudely interrupted. And I'm assuming, since you were rudely interrupted, it was by the Raider fan. Go ahead.
That's all I got. I'm going with Patriots-Lions because I got to stick on that line, but I think more realistically it's Patriots-Giants.
All right, Matt, I mean, do you guys even have a team in San Francisco anymore? It seemed like they fired everybody. What's your take?
Well, yes, they fired the right people, so we'll get back to that later. But anyways, in the NFC, I like the Atlanta Falcons. I think Dallas is going to be really tough to beat. The Giants are the team I probably would fear. This Giant-Packer game is going to be good, but ultimately I think the Falcons have the best team. I think they're playing the best football right now. I think they're going to the Super Bowl. And I just don't see how anybody beats New England out of the AFC. I'd like to give Pittsburgh a chance. I like their offense a lot, but I just don't know if they're going to be able to beat Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So I'm going with an Atlanta-New England Super Bowl.
All right,
the Falcons?
Ed?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is this the guy that just picked the Oakland Raiders?
I took the Pats as a backup.
Yeah, you can't have backups. All right,
Edge. Geez, I like the Pats in the AFC too. I agree. I think the Steelers are a real threat. I mean, they're so explosive on offense. I think they can score with anyone. But I'll go with the Pats. And the Cowboys' road. That NFC is so wide open. The Cowboys' road is going to be really difficult. But I just got a feeling that they're gonna get there. It's going to be Cowboys Patriots in the Super Bowl. But I think it's wide open.
All right, Brian Schmidt.
Obviously, my heart's going to be Pittsburgh in the AFC, but if I was betting money on it, I'm gonna say the Patriots. But I will say this about Pittsburgh in this, and we've chronicled their offense, but since Week 11, defensively, they're in the top 4 or 5 in a lot of different defensive categories. So they play better defense. I'm still just a little bit nervous about their defense. I don't think that. They haven't convinced me yet defensively, but in the NFC, I'll tell you my general feeling is it like for some reason I have to agree. I have a general, but Atlanta making it. There's just something. I think Dallas is going to do what Dallas does in the playoffs, and that's somehow choke. And I just like the way Atlanta has done things. They've been fairly consistent, and I like what they do offensively, and they've gotten better defensively. And I think this is the year that Matt Ryan puts his name on the map as being an elite quarterback. And I think for some reason I've just had that Atlanta feeling for the last couple of weeks.
All right, Chris Cook.
After that pause there, I'm going to go a little bit different. When I looked at this, everybody wants to get on the Patriots bandwagon in the AFC, but I've got to go a different direction. I'm on the Chiefs bandwagon, and I think that they're going to sneak in because they have one of the healthiest rosters, top to bottom, going into the playoffs. And I think Andy Reid has quietly put together a dynasty out there, and I think that there is one team that can go into New England and beat the Patriots and match wits with Bill Belichick and the Belichick regime. It would be Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I'm not saying they're going to blow it out of the water, but it'll be a good football game. But I can see the Chiefs pulling it out in the AFC. And likewise, I'm looking at a Green Bay-Atlanta NFC Championship game, and I think the Falcons are going to go to the Super Bowl, and we're going to have a heck of a matchup between the Falcons and the Chiefs.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. I think the Patriots are going to win it. I do think Kansas City is probably the biggest threat, and I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers were as upset by Oakland as Oakland was, because without that, they don't have to go to Kansas City. They go to Oakland with a backup quarterback in the divisional playoff. Now I think the road's a little bit tougher going to Kansas City. I don't think it's as good as a matchup. But with the offensive weapons they have, if they get hot, they're in danger. But I'm taking the Patriots there. In the NFC, I think the Falcons are the best team. I mean, you've got the guy that should be the MVP, hands down, I think, in Matt Ryan. You've got Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman running the ball. You got the best wide receiver in football, Julio Jones, and their defense has improved. You got Vic Beasley, who I think's got something phenomenal, like 15 and a half sacks this year. So I'm going to go with Atlanta there. Dallas, you got a rookie quarterback, you got a rookie running back, and I think they're eventually going to win a Super Bowl with those guys. I just don't think it's this year. So we talked about it a little bit. Who's your MVP for the year, Chris?
Me? I would have to say Matt Ryan. I believe that he, hands down, has had probably one of the greatest seasons in NFL history that nobody's ever really heard of, because the national media pundits, for some reason or another, all you want to hear about is what's going on in Dallas. And, it's quietly taken some of that pressure off the Atlanta Falcons, and that's one of the main reasons why I think you're going to see them in the Super Bowl, because they will have the league MVP in Matt Ryan, and they haven't had that national spotlight to have to deal with, the media circus, until playoff time, to where there's not that pressure that, Dallas is going to do what Dallas does in the playoffs, and that's lose big. And they're going to host a playoff game. They're going to get beat, and then we're going to have a bunch of cowboy, apologists for the next 9 months until August starts back up about, who should have done what and who's to blame, and that's all you're going to hear about, while the rest of the national media looks past actual football that's being played like in Atlanta.
All right. Oz, I forgot you on your Super Bowl prediction. Did I forget you? I think we already know yours.
I was interrupted. I spent a lot of time doing it. So you did not skip me.
Okay. MVP, Oz?
I'm going to go with Tyron Smith. I think this is the year we should acknowledge the offensive linemen. And I think that Ezekiel Elliott and Dak Prescott don't have half the seasons they have without that offensive line in Dallas. A lot of folks want to talk about what a great season Ezekiel Elliott's having, but last year Dallas was 10th in rushing yards.
Yeah, but a lot of those offensive linemen were hurt last year. The year before, DeMarco Murray blew it up behind that line.
Right, exactly. And Darren McFadden blew it up relatively last year behind the mass unit line. I think that in this year, when there's no real outstanding candidate for, MVP, I think.
But Matt Ryan's not an outstanding candidate.
He's not head and shoulders above the pack, is he?
I think he is.
Among the quarterbacks.
It was terrible 2 years ago. They were 8-8 last year. They come out of nowhere. I think he's, 36, 37 touchdown passes, single-digit interceptions. Yeah, I think he's...
It's actually 38 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions, 4,944 yards, with a quarterback rating of 117.1.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, Oz.
Did my homework.
Okay. Is he head and shoulders above Tom Brady, who's 11-1 and has thrown, what was it? I think it's
28-2.
22 touchdowns versus 2
28
interceptions?
touchdowns, 2 interceptions. But
how does that qualify?
Is he the MVP of the team that was 3-1 without him?
I don't know. We got to send that one guy a Matt Ryan fathead doll for his room, though.
Well,
yeah, I know.
Look, the Patriots lost Gronkowski. Okay, who is the most dominant player at his position in the NFL?
And they have Martellus Bennett, who's probably a top 5 tight end to take his place.
Okay, but, the adaptation was smooth, it was good, et cetera, et cetera. My point here is this. In fact, among the quarterbacks, people are also talking about Aaron Rodgers. Among quarterbacks, if you're going to go for a quarterback, I like Dak Prescott better than these 3 guys. I do. The Cowboys...
Nothing to laugh at there.
Okay, no. I mean, it's just an opinion, right? You asked me what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah, but we're going to make fun of you when your opinion's wrong.
That's true.
When my opinion's wrong, okay.
So Oz, I'm unclear. Who's your pick? You picked 4 guys.
No, I'm going with my offensive line. I guess I'm going to go with Mr. Smith. I wish I could pick the whole Cowboys offensive line, but I can't.
All right, Ed.
I couldn't agree more. I said this on my show numerous times. I truly believe that Dallas Cowboys offensive line should all be the MVP. But,
Thank you.
You know, realistically, knowing that that's not going to happen, but I've said that multiple times. I couldn't agree more. They are the most valuable, group, and, the numbers are showing it. And Dak's not a terrible answer, guys. Come on, he's having an amazing season. The numbers are up there, and, look at the win.
But they're not comparable to Matt Ryan.
His numbers are not comparable to Matt Ryan's. There's no comparison. This is the
Let me finish. Let me get my pick, please. I think it is going to be Matt Ryan, but I personally think Aaron Rodgers is the most valuable player. I mean, he came on later in the season, but you take Aaron Rodgers off that team, that may be the worst team in the league.
That's a big
You're
point.
telling me if Matt Ryan's off the Falcons, they're going to be the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs?
No, but they're not the worst team in the league. I mean, that's a team with a solid offensive line. There's a lot of talent over there in Atlanta.
I mean,
I'll give you that, but you also got to go. Aaron Rodgers was 10-6. He was terrible for half the season, or nowhere near what he's been in the first half.
Well, you look at
and in that second half of the season, I mean,
and if we're just looking at parts of a season, we'd be talking about Carr in Oakland as the MVP.
I mean, you've got to go with the entire season. I mean, I see what you're saying. The last half of the season, Rodgers was awesome.
I mean, you look at the numbers. He's got 2 more touchdown passes. He's got 500 less yards. Lower completion percentage. But I just think what he does for the team. I mean, you can't go wrong. Matt Ryan's probably going to.
That makes a lot more sense though than Oz's pick. So Matt.
Oz, I will give you props a little bit here. I would love to see the Dallas offensive line get the MVP. That would be really cool because it's never happened. But here's the problem. Its most valuable player, I don't think you could just give it to Smith. That would be really cool, but it will never happen. So it's a nice thought, but I think that the MVP race really comes down to Ezekiel Elliott, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. Dak Prescott's very good, but Dak Prescott doesn't have the numbers that the other quarterbacks have. And when Dak Prescott had to kind of carry the team against the Giants when the running game wasn't going well, he didn't play well. I think that
he
would
lost
factor in.
2 games to the Giants. I mean,
but I'm just saying, when it looked like
the
game was on his shoulders, he didn't play well. I don't think he's an MVP candidate. Ezekiel Elliott, yes. But I don't think he'll get it.
Wow.
I think Matt Ryan is hands down the MVP. He should get it, but I'm not sure that he actually will. I think the media will go with their darling and give it to Aaron Rodgers, but I think Matt Ryan is the MVP of the league.
All right, Charlie?
Like you said, if it was the Chiefs point was a great point, by the way, guys, for the Super Bowl. They are a real threat, and I think that if it was the first half of the season up to now, I'd give it to Derek Carr, no joke. But right now, you know what? As much as I hate to say this, and Raider Nation, if you're listening, I apologize, but it's kind of true too. Coming out of jail and winning, and he's the number 1 threat in the AFC. I got to give it to Tom Brady this year. The Falcons are boring. That's why nobody talks about them. And
boring.
Yeah, they're a very boring team. And
they are the most fun to watch.
Yeah, they were boring against my Rams.
Only one watching them.
It was boring the way they steamrolled.
They beat the Raiders, I'll tell you that, and they're a good team. And but I don't think they got a championship aura about them. I think Tom Brady gets the MVP, and I think Eli Manning gets a Super Bowl.
Well, and I think Tom Brady, I wouldn't mind seeing win it just because he was screwed out of the first 4 games. Brian?
I'm going to go with Matt Ryan. I think Matt Ryan is deserving of it. I can also, and I'll tell you some things that have been said about Aaron Rodgers getting it. I could see that happening because the powers that be on that pick, sometimes they tend to pick the darling over the guy that should get it. But I think Matt Ryan is the guy that should get it. I already gave you my Super Bowl pick, but
all right. Did we miss anybody there?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
I thought I already said Matt Ryan.
All right, I stand corrected.
All right, it's Matt Ryan. All right, one more. Coach of the Year. We'll start off with Chris.
You know where I'm going to go. This is one where it's Adam Gase from the Miami Dolphins, hands down, to be a first-year head coach and to start out 1-4 and to have the injuries that team has suffered throughout the season and to end up in the playoffs. He should be your coach of the year. And I'll throw in the word for Cameron Wake for comeback player of the year after recovering from the Achilles rupture in the 2015 season. So those will be your two award winners from the Miami Dolphins for the year in awards.
All right, Brian?
You know, I tend to agree with Chris. I would like him to be the one that gets it. I have a feeling that I think Del Rio will get it from the Raiders, which
yeah, baby.
I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad pick either. But I just think with what Gase did with Miami, 1-4 start, left for dead at 1-4. To be a playoff team, to me, I feel like he should get it. But I do think that conventional wisdom, I think Del Rio will be one ends up getting it.
Yeah, I think Gase should get it, and I think Del Rio will be fired within 2 years. I don't think the guy's a very good football coach. I didn't think he was when he came in. His team completely laid down in their biggest game of the year. Completely laid down. And the guy that wasn't afraid to take a risk decided to run the ball on almost every third and long in the first quarter against Denver. So I think the Oakland Raiders will someday win multiple Super Bowls with Derek Carr. Jack Del Rio won't be the coach. Matt?
I really like Andy Reid out of Kansas City, and I like Dan Quinn out of Atlanta. So I'm torn between those guys. I think I'm going to go with Andy Reid. I just look at his body of work over the last 2 years. Your franchise back, Jamal Charles, who they really built around for the offense, has just not been there. And they have had to make things work with Spencer Ware, I can never pronounce the guy's name, West. And now, Tyreek Hill, and just all the guys, all the moving parts that they've brought in and out of to make that offense work. The defense has been injury rattled, but they piecemeal it together, and they just win a lot of games. And now they're in position to, and I really should have brought them up before, they are a legitimate threat to New England. I don't think they'll beat New England, but I just really like the job that Andy Reid has done over there, and I think he gets overlooked.
All right. Ed?
Oh, guys, I got to be honest. All bias aside, I think that Jason Garrett is the clear-cut coach of the year. I mean, you look at what he's done with the adversity that he's had to face this season. To me, I think it's Jason Garrett. Not to sound biased. I like Jack Del Rio also, but I think Jason Garrett's the coach of the year.
All right. Charlie?
I'm going with Del Rio, and I think he's been very gutsy, and I think he's been smart, and I think these young guys are rallying for him. The Raiders did lay down last game, but I think it's because this guy Matt McGloin was a poor leader, and Connor Cook's going to give him some more fire. But Jack Del Rio.
All right. Is that everybody?
Well, I haven't gotten one yet.
Oh, Oz.
You guys almost convinced me about Gase. I kind of like the Gase pick, but you know what? I'm going to be boring. I'm going to go with Bill Belichick. Here's why. You guys don't want to give Brady the MVP for missing the first 4 games in which the Patriots win 3-1. You guys want to throw away Gronkowski as being a factor in Brady's season because they got Martellus Bennett, who they picked up probably with Belichick's influence and who he's called plays for marvelously this season. Bennett has been awesome to watch, even when he's not catching football.
I agree with this pick.
Yeah, this is a good point.
I like.
Yeah, I'm not against it.
And
even though
I'm not against it either. It's a good pick.
But Adam Gase did it with a team that wasn't supposed to do it, and they were 1-4.
Belichick won with a scrub at the beginning of the year.
Jimmy Garoppolo is not a scrub.
Two.
Yeah,
Brissett as well.
I guarantee you this: if the Oakland Raiders had Jimmy Garoppolo, they'd be playing in 2 weeks in the playoffs, and they wouldn't have to play this week.
Yeah, Garoppolo is pretty good, but I'd also like to give an honorable mention to Jeff Fisher for Coach of the Year because hear me out. On national TV, on Hard Knocks, he said at the beginning of the season, "I'm not going 7-9. I'm not going 8-8. I'm not going 9-7. He was right.
And I won't beat the 49ers.
That's right. I don't think he said that, but if he did, he was also right about that. So
I'm hoping he gets to be the head coach of the 49ers.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. I can't wait.
I know.
No, we won't be getting him.
You and Dexter could have all kind of fun on the 49ers show with that.
No, we will not.
You can take him over from
Thank
me
you,
and
though.
Tony.
All right.
Tony ships him to you.
I guess that's everybody, so we're going to start picking these games. We're going to start off with Oakland at Houston. Brian?
What an and no offense to our Oakland Raiders, but what all the excitement I had for Oakland, and now that Carr is injured and everything is going, this game is absolutely the worst possible playoff game you could ever have.
Well, it might be close now, though.
It might be. I'm
What's
still
this, a Niner fan?
No, this is a Steeler fan, so nobody can say nothing to him. Go ahead, Brian.
I'm even with all that. I'm going to go with Oakland, even with the quarterback that's playing. I'm going to go with Oakland because Houston has proven to me this year that they will find a way to lose a football game. And I think that Oakland can win this game. I'm so anti-Houston and what I've seen. It's just hard for me, and especially with the fact that Brock Osweiler, I guess, is going to be playing in this game, which he's bad. So I'm going to go with Oakland. I probably should go with Houston, but I'm going to go with the gut feeling that Oakland's going to win this game.
All right, Charlie.
Great pick, bud. I go with the Oakland Raiders, the mighty Oakland Raiders.
All right, Ed.
Oh, man. This one was tough. I was leaning Houston all day, but the more I think about it, I'm expecting the Raiders, with that offensive line to come out and just give a heavy dose of the run game. Like some of you guys had said, I don't know how much of an upgrade the Houston Texans had at quarterback with Brock Osweiler going. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders to still pull out the victory.
All right, Matt.
Nice pick, Ed.
All right. I would agree that this is one of the worst playoff matchups you could hope for. Just because of Derek Carr being out, this is awful. I don't like Houston at all. I think Brock Osweiler is what everybody else thinks he is. He's just not very good. That said, both of these teams have a legitimate chance to win because it doesn't matter that the Raiders have no quarterback. I don't believe in Houston. And on the other side, without the Raiders having a quarterback, anything could really happen in this game. I'm going to go with the Raiders just because I think they've got the better roster, but nothing would surprise me. I don't think this is going to be a very exciting game at all.
Davis.
Bad attitude.
Okay. Here's what I got. I am basically echoing everybody else with my problems about Mr. Osweiler. So I'm going to make a further prediction. I'm going to go with the Raiders, but I'm going to make a further prediction. I think the Raiders' defense will have its best game of the season statistically this week. Yep. And everybody's going to convince themselves that the New England game will be closer than 35 points, and it won't. So there you go. Raiders lose this week, win this week, they lose next week.
All right, Chris Cook.
I got to bring in a little theme music if you can hear that.
Okay.
I don't know if it's coming through.
You're getting me all riled up over there.
But I have to go. I'm committed to excellence this Saturday afternoon because I see the Raiders pulling it out in Houston. And, anytime I pick the Raiders, I got to have a little theme music, I'm a Dolphins fan, and I shed tears the day Al Davis.
Man.
Growing up, I shed tears the day Al Davis died because it was about respect. And I'm glad to see the Raiders in the playoffs. I'm glad to see the Dolphins in the playoffs. But I think the Raiders still have enough horsepower to get it done against the Houston Texans and to live another day in the playoffs and make it into the divisional round.
All right, so I guess everybody
that pick just put chills on my arm, folks.
I guess everybody picked Oakland until now. I'm taking the Houston Texans, and I think the Texans will beat them by 10 points at least. I think Connor Cook is an absolute.
I'll send you a picture of my ass after
Connor
the game.
Cook is a terrible NFL quarterback because he's not even an NFL quarterback. The Houston Texans had the number one defense in the NFL. Jadeveon Clowney has actually played up to expectations. Whitney Merciless, they've got a great secondary. Bill O'Brien is a hell of a football coach that is probably going to leave after this year no matter what happens just because he doesn't get along with the GM. And Brock Osweiler, for all his faults, is 10 times better than Connor Cook. Connor Cook cannot play quarterback in the NFL, and he will prove that this weekend. I think the Texans win this game 24-10.
Oh, my God. Fellas, I'll be spreading the cheeks once Connor Cook does his thing. I'll be miking that picture I send you.
Well, Connor Cook will probably have a heart attack if he plays well anyways because he'd be the most surprised guy probably.
Clowney is a great guy, though. Clowney is a great defender. Sheesh.
Yeah, and you got Whitney Merciless. Their defense is ranked number one for a reason. They're playing a rookie quarterback. I mean, it wasn't too many years ago the Houston Texans were in the playoffs almost every year. They were in it last year. They had that experience. The Raiders don't have that experience. Their defense has not played well this year. I think Brock Osweiler might look like a just slightly below average NFL quarterback instead of a terrible one this weekend.
Yeah, but what if the score is like 8-6?
Yeah, I'm going to go. See, this is the thing. I'm going to go. I'm going to go with the team with the best defense when this is the worst quarterback matchup in NFL playoff history.
Oh, it's got to be.
I agree.
And I mean, Osweiler is, this is the difference, okay? Osweiler last year during the regular season played well a lot. I mean, he went to Pittsburgh and played a hell of a game against Schmidt's Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it before. Connor Cook hasn't. Connor Cook never will. Connor Cook will be lucky to be playing arena football 2 years from now. And you're going to rue today that they picked Connor Cook because he was the biggest waste of a draft pick the Oakland Raiders could have ever had.
That's not fair.
There sounds like some real hate there between you and
There's no hate. Connor Cook is not very good.
Passion in your voice there.
Did those Spartans?
And the fact that I got people out here I respect their opinions. They're thinking that Connor Cook can go to Houston to win a playoff game, and I know the Texans are a joke. I mean, let's face it. If Derek Carr doesn't get hurt, Kansas City is going to Houston, and they're going to beat them 31-0, just like they did last year. The problem is you lost your starting quarterback, and your front office wasn't smart enough to have a backup that could even comparably compete. I mean, Matt McGloin was terrible last week, and Matt McGloin's probably better than Connor Cook.
No way.
They should have picked up Nick Foles. What do you base this off of? Because Connor Cook's never played an NFL game.
I know, but Connor Cook has just shown more of a pocket calmness.
When has he shown that?
In preseason, he looked more comfortable.
In preseason, they play vanilla defenses. They don't blitz the crap out of you.
Right,
you basically sit back there, and he was not playing the other team's starting defense. He was playing guys that are working on semi-trucks right now and flipping burgers at McDonald's.
I know, and people are going to keep saying that, but just why? You're going to be impressed by this kid's pocket presence and what he does.
I wasn't impressed by it last year against Alabama where he shit his pants in a playoff game. And this is not Alabama. This is the Houston Texans. It's a bunch of grown men that are coming after him in a playoff game. This isn't Alabama. It's not college.
You're going to have me wearing a chef hat. I'm going to be wearing a chef hat and an apron rooting for this kid this weekend now.
Yeah, well, that kid, if he, took a culinary degree at Michigan State, that's what he'll be working in 2 years from now. All right. Next game.
Wow.
Oz and Detroit Lions at the Seattle Seahawks. I'm fired up now. Oz, go ahead and pick your Lions.
Okay, I'm going to pick my Lions. Look, at first I was just thinking, oh, my God, I'm in trouble here. Because, I've been, for those who don't know, I've been, promoting the Detroit Lions as sort of an upset special.
Remember this, guys. He's always introduced at the start of every show as the biggest loser.
As the biggest loser, yeah. Lost Davis. You came up with that one very cleverly a week or two ago, and you haven't used it since. Lost Davis. I like that one.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not liking the Lions here too much, but the Seahawks are a flawed team right now. I mean, look, they've got, the Tyler Lockett is out. They haven't looked great on offense consistently lately, unless they're playing the Los Angeles Rams. by the way. Of course, the Lions also have a lot of problems. The running game hasn't materialized. I'm very concerned about that as a Lions fan. But I kind of like the swagger this team is playing with. So, yeah, sure, I'm not getting off the horse. I'll go with the Lions.
All right. I've never seen a team swagger after losing 4 straight games. Charlie?
Wow, you know what, you bastard. I'm reading about this game last year, and they shut Michigan out in the championship game, huh?
Yeah, he was horrible.
Holy smokes. What did you do to me just now?
Dude, he is terrible. He's not an NFL quarterback.
Wow. Anyway, so what pick is this? What lackluster game are we picking?
Seattle.
Detroit and Seattle. You know what? I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go with the Lions.
All right. I love Connor Cook, too.
Michigan,
baby. You didn't know who Connor Cook was till this show, but. Chris Cook, Detroit at Seattle.
I think this game's going to be a lot closer than the national pundits are calling. My heart is I feel for the Detroit Lions. I really, I think they've turned a corner. But at the end of the day, going into Seattle, there's just too much at stake there. I think Seattle will pull this one out, and I think it would be like one of them games that comes down to last possession, similar to last year, I believe, in the playoffs. And they Detroit got screwed in the playoffs last year to Seattle, but I think this thing's going to be less than 3 points. I think Detroit's an 8-point underdog at the airing of this show. I don't agree with that number. I would have gone for Detroit though if they wouldn't have lost those games down the stretch, because I really like Matt Stafford, and I just wish they would have won at least one of those games, and I'd probably go with them. But I just don't think this year they're going to get it done. But it's a good run for them to end up in the 6th seed, and unfortunately the Seahawks will move on to the divisional round, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to go with Seattle, but I think it'll be a close game, too. And I think if Matt Stafford could bend his middle finger, he would win this game. But if he could bend his middle finger, they'd have won the division. I think that's an injury that's a lot harder to come over as a quarterback than people realize. Brian?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle as well. I do believe, like everybody said, I think this will be a good game. But and from a quarterback standpoint with Stafford, when your hand is hurt, it's especially your fingers, it does affect you, and I think it has affected him. But more importantly, Seattle is just one of those teams that they seem to turn that extra gear on when it comes to playoff time, and I think Detroit, and I'm glad to see Detroit in the playoffs. It's great for them. It's great to see somebody different in the playoffs, but this, I think, is a bad matchup because Seattle really knows how to turn it on when it comes to playoff time, and they're playing at home, which playing Seattle also.
Yeah, I think Seattle's going to win this game. I'd love to see Detroit win it, but the problem is you watch Matt Stafford. I mean, even besides the injury, I mean, I like what the Lions have done this year. I really do. I like their passing attack. I really like the way Stafford has played. He's fun to watch. He's a good quarterback. The problem
especially without a running game. They've had no running game all year. As a fantasy guy, you know this.
Right. Absolutely. That's part of the problem. They don't have a running game. You're talking about going into Seattle one-dimensional. There's just no way. Even without her, it doesn't matter if they don't have Earl Thomas. Seattle will find a way to play good enough on defense to win this game, and Russell Wilson will be able to do enough on offense. And the problem is Matt Stafford, as much as I like the guy, he just has never really won a big, important game. Every time he has an important game, whether it's home or away, they just don't win the game. As much as I like the guy. So I can't pick him. This is a bad matchup. I think Seattle wins the game. It might be close, but Seattle will win the game.
All right, Ed?
Yeah, guys, I really like this game. I'm excited for it. I think we're actually in for a real barn burner. I like Detroit's chances. You talk about a run game. Seattle's run game hasn't been very good either. It's been pretty non-existent the past few weeks. There's some holes there, but at the end of the day, you're playing in Seattle. It's a tough building to play in, and in a big game, I'm going to go with these guys. I'm going to go with Russell and the guys in the big spot.
All right, next game, the Miami Dolphins at the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a rematch of a 1979 divisional playoff game won by Pittsburgh 34-14. Brian, number one, do you think that'll have an effect? The Dolphins will be wanting revenge, or do you think the Steelers will pull it out?
Nice.
Yeah, I don't even know how to answer that. Oh my goodness! All right.
Reason Donka and Schuler are still pissed off about it.
I've got to get tears out of my eyes. Okay. I'm sure that I'm sure they're over that by now. I would hope, but one can never tell. But I think Pittsburgh's going to win this. In as much as everybody will talk about what Miami did to Pittsburgh early in the season, and it was a beat down. There's been things that have changed since then. Pittsburgh's defense since week 11 has been statistically been one of the better defenses. I'm still not 100% sold on their defense, but they have played better. Offensively, Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. Miami, if Miami was coming into this with all their guns, I think it could be a closer game. But in Pittsburgh, with the offense and with an improved defense, I think Pittsburgh will win this.
All right, Chris Cook, your rebuttal.
Are
you still upset about that 79 game? I think you were 3 years old.
No, because I was 3 years old, but I was able to witness the 1984 AFC Championship game when Miami beat Pittsburgh in the old Orange Bowl. So
45-28?
Yep, I witnessed that one firsthand. So, Miami comes into this at time of air right now at a 10-point underdog, which is laughable. In my view, the main thing that's really going to hurt the Dolphins is they had Pouncey in at center in that earlier season game, and their ability to run the ball has diminished somewhat without him in there. Now, they have had J.J. has had a 200-yard game with the backups in. They finally reached that plateau a couple of weeks ago. If Miami can run the football, and it's football 101 when you're on the road. If they can run the football and play Miami defense and limit their turnovers, there's going to be a lot of people crying in those yellow hankies they got around that stadium come Sunday about 3:30 Eastern, because Miami's going to shock the world and punch their ticket to Foxborough, take on the Patriots in the divisional round, which that's another talk for next week, which we'll get into that one. But I'm just not sold on Pittsburgh. I think that this is a nightmare matchup for them, with the ability of Jay Ajayi to run the ball, who has a tremendous chip on his shoulder with the Pro Bowl snub, and to be one of the few players in NFL history to have 3 200-yard rushing games in a season. I believe he's fourth in the league in rushing, and if you recall, he didn't even make the trip to Seattle in week 1. So he's only played in 15 games this year for Miami, and he wasn't even the starter through most of those early on in the season. So they've got a chip on their shoulder. You got people like Cameron Wake on the defensive line. This is their first ever playoff game. Cameron Wake and Ndamukong Suh tore up Roethlisberger in that first matchup because they couldn't block him. They knocked Roethlisberger out of the game. And what's changed? Just because they're at Heinz Field, that miraculously is not going to happen? I think, if Pittsburgh can limit Miami's ability to run the football and really attack the weaknesses at the middle linebacker position due to injury, Pittsburgh will do what Pittsburgh does in the playoffs of late, and that's win. But I'm taking Miami all day, and a lot of people are going to be surprised.
All right, I'm going to take the Steelers because, what Pittsburgh does in the playoffs the last 5 years is usually lose. But no offense, Brian. But they've only won one playoff game the last 5 years. But they've got the best running back on the field in Le'Veon Bell. They've got a better quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger. They've got a better wide receiver. Nobody on the Dolphins is going to cover Antonio Brown. I like Pittsburgh in this game. I think Miami is on the right track. I just don't think it's yet. And I hope that I'm completely wrong on this. And Chris is back on talking about New England, Miami next week. Matt Andruscavage.
I'm also going to go with Pittsburgh. I just think the experience on the field and the 1-2 punch of Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown is just going to be too much. And now you got there's just so many targets for Roethlisberger to find I don't think Miami's even going to have the ball that much. They're going to keep them off the field. I think you can stack the box against Ajayi, make the quarterback beat you. I don't believe in Matt Moore's ability to beat Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I like where Miami's headed, but I just think there's just too many pieces missing. This is in Pittsburgh. They got all the experience. Everything points here to a Pittsburgh win. I believe they'll get it.
Yeah, and I think the only chance the Dolphins have, Chris, is if they go back to the better-looking Dolphins helmet. I don't like the new one.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, Ed?
Yeah, I like the Steelers here, too. I'm going to go with Big Ben here. I think Antonio Brown is just going to be a nightmare for the Dolphins to try to cover, even with Maxwell coming expected back and got that ankle injury. And I agree with you, Mike. I don't think anyone's going to be able to cover him, and I think the offense for the Steelers is going to run wild. I mean, no disrespect to the Dolphins there, but I like the Steelers here.
Charlie?
I think our Dolphins boys smoking that Ricky Waters stash.
Oh, my God, you picked your team to go to the Super Bowl with Connor Cook. Be quiet, Charlie. Pick the game.
I think the Dolphins are going to go up to Pittsburgh and be freezing, and I don't think they're going to be able to handle it, and I think the Steelers are going to win.
All right. Next up, the New York football.
Wait a minute. I got a question. I mean, what has changed since Week 6? I mean, Le'Veon Bell had 53 yards against the Dolphin defense in Miami.
What has changed is, from watching, I've seen most Steeler games because I always sit there and hope they lose. No offense, Brian. But I think their offensive line.
Where was that game?
I forgot
in
Oz,
Miami?
too. He's got to pick the game yet. But I think their offensive line in Pittsburgh is playing much better than what they were at that time of the season. And I think Ben is playing much better. And I just think Le'Veon Bell is the best running back in football outside of David Johnson.
Antonio Brown had 4 receptions for 39 yards.
Yeah.
Right, but also everything that Mike said, but also they were still trying to get, obviously, Jesse James or tight end. They were still trying to figure out that kid. That kid has played a lot better. Getting Green back, which from everything I'm hearing, he will be playing in this game. When Green started playing, the offense got better because Green at the tight end position is a down-the-field threat. So when you have an offensive line,
and that'll kill because Miami's got some injuries in the linebacker core, and that's what New England just ate them apart last week. And I agree. I mean, if they get hot in those areas, Pittsburgh was going to do what they do, but I don't see. I think that's going to be key more so than Le'Veon Bell in the running game and Antonio Brown, because Miami covered him with backups. In Week 6 when they were 1-4 coming into that game. I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's a 10-point, swing like the experts
have. Let me put it like this, Chris.
Guys,
if the Bengals played the Dolphins right now, the Bengals would beat them, right?
Probably, because it seems like we always suck against the Bengals.
That's my point. You guys, I think it was the week before is when the Bengals dominated you guys.
No, it was 2 weeks. The Bengals dominated on Thursday night. Then they completely fell apart in Tennessee the week before they played Pittsburgh.
So my point with Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh has won 7 straight games. Pittsburgh is hot. There's a big difference between that and a Pittsburgh team that was coming in not playing well.
Right, and I will say this.
Can I get in here?
Yes, Oz, because you got to pick the game anyways.
Look. You guys, look at the schedule. Okay, here's the deal. Oh, they started 1-4. Here's why they started 1-4. At Seattle, at New England, okay, versus Cleveland, at Cincinnati versus Tennessee. Okay, guess which 4 games they lost. You know which 4 games they lost. Okay, they beat Pittsburgh in Week 6. Now, no offense to Chris, because, Chris, I love your show, and your Miami Dolphins are an up-and-coming team and all that. But since that win in Week 6, how many playoff teams have Miami played? 1. The answer is 1. That was the Patriots last week, and they got demolished. Okay? When people talk about Cincinnati is better than some playoff teams, Baltimore is better than some playoff teams, they're talking about the Dolphins. The Dolphins
they're talking about the Texans, but okay.
The Dolphins got in on ease of schedule partially, at least partially. And the thing is, we saw what happened when they played a proper playoff team in the second half of the season last week. I think that really, seriously, this is not their year. They have no chance in this game.
Oh, I don't think they have no chance. But, if you look at who they've beaten since the Steeler game, they beat the Bills by 3. They beat the Jets by 4. They beat the Chargers by a touchdown. They beat the Rams by 4. Hell, yeah, they beat the 49ers by 7, and the 49ers are horrible.
The Niners almost came back and won that game.
That was a downpour, too. I mean, there were some.
Hey, the other thing is this, though. The best team that they played was the Baltimore Ravens that wasn't a playoff team, and Baltimore beat them 38-6 in Baltimore. So that's kind of what I'm basing it off of. I think Miami's going in the right direction, but a lot of this was schedule, which no problem with that because the Bengals a few years ago made it because their schedule was weak as hell too. But
it happens.
And I'll tell you, I don't think that New England completely handled them. That was a 27-14 game. Miami's driving inside the 10, and they fumbled the ball away, or they'd have been in the game. So I don't think it was like they were completely dominated, and I think it is really unfair to say they have no chance, because if they had no chance, when they played Pittsburgh earlier in the season, no matter what the circumstances were, they wouldn't have beat them by 3 touchdowns.
Well,
and I will say as a Steeler fan,
that the line on this game is 10 points.
Yeah, it's 10. They're 10-point underdogs.
Brian is a Steeler fan. Brian, are you completely unconcerned with this game?
I think Miami has a shot in this game. I don't think Miami has no chance.
Wow.
Now, if Miami's quarterback situation was better, they didn't have the injuries they have on their defense, I'd be sitting here going, oh, crap. This is a good Miami team, and it's a well-coached Miami team. Pittsburgh at times, now I will say this with Tomlin. Tomlin gets better. His teams seem to play better when they get to December and in the playoffs in terms of not being completely stupid. I don't know why they can't do that from September to November sometimes. But this is a good coach Miami team, and this is a good Miami team that right now, unfortunately, is banged up. To say they have no shot, no, I can't say that because that's a good football team.
All right, so Oz, I guess you're going with Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I really, seriously, especially if it gets cold, Pittsburgh's going to win this game by 3-4 touchdowns maybe.
All right. Hey, Chris, remember this.
It's a big one.
You're talking to a guy that gets introduced at the start of every show.
That picked the Lions in the Super Bowl,
Yeah, he picked the Lions to go to the Super Bowl.
And who thought Blake Bortles was going to be awesome this year.
Yeah, so actually, Chris, your chances have just improved, and the line in Vegas just dropped to 3.
There you go.
Yeah. It did?
Yeah. Now, just because of what Oz said.
Yeah, I will honestly say that the fact that Oz is picking Pittsburgh and not Miami, now I've gotten way more nervous than I even was. So.
Well, let me just, I mean, I know it's this season, but, Miami has won in the past 2 years in Pittsburgh in the snow, and Pittsburgh was a playoff team, and Miami was going nowhere. And, I mean, so there are cores of this Miami Dolphin team who have won in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field in the snow, no less.
We agree with you.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a close game.
I honestly think this is going to be the game of the weekend. If you look at all 4 of them, like I said, I mean, I'm just saying it's going to be the game when you look back on Wildcard Weekend 2016. This is going to be the one that you remember.
I think it'll be the one we're getting ready to talk about, and that's just because I hate the Green Bay Packers because their fans are idiots. We got the New York Football Giants against the Green Bay Packers. Now, we're going to start off picking this game. Matt, I'll let you go first. I already know who you're going to pick, and I know that you feel me on my Green Bay Packer comment. My only question is, if the game's close, will the referees take care of it for Green Bay?
Yeah, I really don't know what to think about this game because I think the Giants are very dangerous. I really believe Eli Manning is just so hard to beat in the playoffs. This is not the same team, though, that went into 2007 and 2011. I don't know that, they have the offense right now. So I'm a little concerned with how many points will the Giants actually score. They just haven't put up a lot of points lately. But the thing is their defense is playing really well, and I didn't really see that coming. So I want to go with the Giants. I don't think the Packers have a legitimate running game. I think they'll piecemeal something together. They'll give Tristan Michael some carries. They'll give Ripkowski a couple carries, and I think Ty Montgomery will get some carries. I think the Giants will shut that run game right off. The thing is, though, Aaron Rodgers is playing very, very well, very hard to beat. This is a really, really difficult game to call. But until someone actually beats Eli Manning, I'm going to take Eli Manning. They've won there twice now. Eli Manning knows how to win in Lambeau Field. Aaron Rodgers, his career playoff record's 8-7. I don't know. I'm going with the Giants, but I would not be surprised if Green Bay were to win this.
All right, now the one big difference is he doesn't have Brett Favre throwing the ball to the Giants during the playoff game.
Right. No, but he did beat him in 2011.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was a 15-1 team.
Charlie.
Ooh, pick me.
Yeah, this is going to be probably one of the best games of this round. But I think the Giants will pull it out. If not, Cruz and Beckham are going to hear it endlessly for this little boat cruise they went on with Justin Bieber this weekend.
Good God.
Eli, you see Eli shut that down today? You see Eli shut it down today in the in the press conference?
I didn't even hear about this. They really did that?
Oh, man. Yeah, they went
a day off.
It was this Trey songs. All these guys out on a boat together.
Oh, yeah, I did hear about that.
Well, in Miami, go on a cruise like Dallas did a few years back.
Well, hopefully it's not like Minnesota did a few years back.
Yeah, that's
the old sex ship, Denny Green.
The sex boat. Woo!
Yeah. All right, Charlie.
Can I get in on this?
So
yeah, because we're going to come to you eventually. But go ahead, just jump right in.
I'm going to go with the Giants.
I'll just jump right in. Yeah, sure. I'm glad that Matt brought up the point about the defense, because if you remember at the beginning of the season, we were talking about how much money they had spent in the off-season on the defense, from Janoris Jenkins on down. They really paid out in the off-season. Well, now I think it's finally paying off. Look, these guys have allowed 47 points in the past 4 games. In those past 4 games, they've allowed 23 points combined against the Cowboys, Lions, and the borderline playoff Washington. This defense is on fire right now. Tom Coughlin is not the coach. However, I do believe that in the wide-open NFC, they got enough to go far. I think they're going to beat the Packers in this game. Sure. Absolutely. Giants.
All right. Ed?
Crap. Oh, guys. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers here, fellas. Come on. Let me tell you something. The Giants' defense, it's a premier defense in the league. And Eli, no doubt about it, he's a champion. We know what he does when he gets in the playoffs. But I think people take that a little out of context, considering he's only been to the playoffs twice in 13 years.
He's been more than twice.
Has he?
Yeah. I remember they lost to Seattle the one year. I think it was his rookie year, second year.
I mean, there you go. Anyway, regardless of all that, I'm going with the guy who I think is the best quarterback in football to get the job done. All
right, Chris Cook?
I can't pick the Dolphins in this one, can I? No.
You can, but you'll be wrong.
I was just trying to be funny.
If Bob says there's no way that the Dolphins win this game, I will agree with him.
I just wanted
the Dolphins win this game.
I'd have to go Packers. I mean, the Giants are underdog by about 4.5 last time I checked. I think this is the game of the weekend in the NFC. I just think I watched that Detroit Packers game extensively the other night, and there's just something about Aaron Rodgers that I think that they're going to end up playing Atlanta, like I said, in the NFC Championship game, and I think they will handle the Giants. I think it'll be close. I could see it coming down to a field goal or something, but there's just too much there on the Packers side of the ball. They're clicking at the right time. They're in a, you know how it is when you get in that zone, and I just feel that they're in that zone. And I don't know if this is the year where Eli's going to show up for the playoffs or if he's just going to do a one and done. I think the stat you were trying to quote, I forget who was speaking earlier, is there's only 2 years that he hadn't done a one and done in the playoffs, and those are the 2 years he won the Super Bowl.
Ah, okay.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
That's the stat that you were going for. So, I just don't know, because if the Packers do get beat by the Giants, that being said, we're looking at Patriots versus Giants in the Super Bowl,
right.
And you all know who the Brady killer is in the group. It's Eli. So I mean, the number one fan of the Green Bay Packers this weekend is the New England Patriot fans. They're going to keep an eye on this because they want to see New York get booted from the playoffs as soon as possible.
Well, I think the Eli's not the Brady killer or the Patriots killer. It was that defensive line that was the Brady killer, especially the first one.
Exactly right.
I thought it was Coughlin.
Yeah, I mean, I was just I know the defense is what said it, and then Coughlin, the coach, and I mean, it just. But I'm just saying, the mystique is, and the average Joe that doesn't understand football, they think it's all Eli Manning and the quarterback. But, he was a part of it, and, he has a great record in Super Bowls against the New England Patriots.
All right, Brian?
I'm going to go with Green Bay just because they're the hot team, and obviously, they're quarterback-wise, they're playing hot. I can see this game going either way, and I could see this very easily being a one-point game either way. I think this is going to be a great game and really the game of the weekend. But to me, it's going to come down to who's the hot team right now, and I like the way Green Bay has played. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team, but I think that they can do enough, especially at home, to win this game.
All right, I guess I got to pick this now, huh?
Yes.
I picked this one to pick last because I was still trying to make up my mind, and I'm still thinking about it. We need that Jeopardy music in the background. I just write down my pick. I'll show it to you guys next week. I think this. I think it's going to be almost impossible for the Packers to run the ball. I think that throwing the ball wise, they only put up 24 points on Detroit. And I still think Detroit beats them if they have a healthy Matt Stafford. I'm not convinced the Packers are that good. I know Aaron Rodgers is. I think he's the second best quarterback in the NFL. I still wouldn't take anybody over Tom Brady. And that's in history. I wouldn't take anybody over Tom Brady. But I'm going to go with the Giants. I'm going to go with the team with the defense. Defense is one thing that travels well on the road for playoff games. I just worry about how the Giants are going to score, but then again, the Packers' secondary is not very good. And you got Odell Beckham Jr. on the other side, Sterling Shepard on the other side. And it's not like the Green Bay Packers, even though the Giants' offensive line is weak, it's not like you're just going to run through them. And, Clay Matthews is a guy that seems like 1 week he looks like Clay Matthews, the next week he doesn't. So I'm going to go with the New York Football Giants. So let's go ahead and wrap this show up. Final words, Ed?
Yeah, guys, I'm real excited for this playoffs. It's going to be a real exciting playoffs. And I'm a little shocked that when we talked Coach of the Year, not a single other person even mentioned Garrett. Look at to have one loss on the season with two rookies at key positions, a plethora of injuries. I thought he'd get a little more love there, but. Everyone check out the Big Star Show this week with www.bigstarshow.com. We got Mark Cooper, your boy Mike, former Denver Broncos offensive lineman. Great interview.
Yeah, great guy, and he will be back next week on the divisional playoff show. Chris Cook.
Appreciate the opportunity to join the guys this week. I want to remind the listeners out there, listen to us weekly at Game Day IQ. Myself and Alan Buck pontificate about the world of sports from an intellectual point of view. Hope my Dolphins win so I can get invited back next week.
You can get invited back anyways because we'll want to.
I thought I was just invited. I thought I was not invited because you had to have your team in the playoffs to get invited to this show.
It's just today I'm thinking, hey, Chris Cook's team got in the playoffs. I'll just go ahead and ask him if he wants to be on the show.
I thought I might get to play it.
Didn't we have a Niner in here?
Yeah, we have a Niner in here who's won more Super Bowls than your team, Matt.
Yeah, but
everybody really. Game Day IQ, great show. I know Oz is his favorite show on the network that he's not on.
And I appreciate the opportunity, and I also appreciate our sponsor, Gridiron Mo, too.
Yep. All right. Matt, since somebody brought up the 49er fan, I don't know why.
Yep, that's me. Well, I think we're going to see a couple of really good games. I'm not really sure about a couple of the other ones, but I think the Packers-Giants game is going to be real good. Should be an interesting weekend. There's going to be at least one upset, so we'll see what happens there. And Dexter and I will be back at it tomorrow, wrap up the season, and talk about the firings of Chip Kelly and Trent Baalke and how they're going to get the team back on track.
You know, you guys could have done that show week 5.
Could have. Didn't. We had to talk about the wins over the Rams.
Oh, yeah, you got to talk about the wins over the Rams.
Yeah, that's the only team you guys can beat.
Speaking of wins over the Rams, we get the host of our Rams 2.0 show with former L.A. Ram Buffalo Bill Tony Hunter, Oz Davis. Oz, you want to tell us about the show that'll be posted here in the next day or two you guys did, and give us some final words.
Yeah, L.A. Rams 2.0 with Buford McGee. Buford does not follow the NFL too much these days, which is great because any Rams fan cannot be following the NFL too much these days. But great show. Just another amazing teammate of my co-host Tony Hunter's from the 1980s joins us on the show. I'll also be rebooting the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL show. Very interesting league, the Canadian Football League up there. I believe that's week after next. We'll be starting up again with that. In addition, I'm on like every other show on
you're on like 3 shows. I don't know why you keep saying that.
And I did want, well, because I'm trying to puff myself up a little
bit. Okay.
I did want to say this. I hope that the listeners are checking out the other podcasts of the guys that are appearing on this show tonight, because I listened to quite a few shows on this show tonight. And, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I listen to all these guys, and we're really doing some good work at thegruelingtruth.net. So as the website cheerleader, I'm going rah, 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 rah. Now, on a football note, this is my last thing. Let's see. To recap, I picked the Raiders, Lions, Giants, and Steelers this week. So I'm looking forward to seeing the Texans, Seahawks, Dolphins, and Packers next week.
All right. And you can be the biggest loser again.
Exactly.
Next up, we have basically the host of the show. This America's team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, Brian Schmidt. That was for Ed.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, we got Steelers Weekly going to be going on tomorrow. We'll talk about the playoff game, and really hope that next week's show is not talking about how in the heck Miami won this game, because that's going to be a long show. But
it'll be 55 minutes of Chris Cook explaining to you why you were stupid to begin with.
Well, I'm pretty much figuring if Miami wins, I'm going to have Chris Cook on the Steelers Weekly, because the Steeler fans are gonna need some sort of explanation that I won't be able to give.
Well, you ought to have Chris on this week.
Joel, can I have a towel with great game fresh tears in it, so I can have a terrible towel with the actual playoff loss tears?
Oh my God!
I'll send you on the wall. Give me your address. If Miami wins, I'll send you mine.
I just like to. I want to feel one of them terrible towels with some playoff tears on it. So it's been a while for me.
The thing to do with a terrible towel is to wipe your ass, because if you wash it, you can reuse it, and it's cheaper than toilet paper.
Wow! Coming from the guy not in the playoffs.
We got to talk a little bit of crap, even though we sucked this year. So, Brian, tell us about you and Dwight this week.
We have to talk a little crap, literally.
Yep, me and Dwight will be on, and we will get into the show, but I think this is going to be a great playoff run. Some of the games, like I said, Oakland game this weekend does not excite me. But I think that there's going to be some really good games, and at least 3 of the 4 I think will be pretty decent games. So.
All right. Well, I know one person is excited about the Oakland playoff game. That would be Charlie Boots.
Absolutely. Getting on a plane Friday morning, headed to Houston, Texas. Going to be a great weekend.
Ooh,
guys,
nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little weekend. Guys, if you get a chance, head over to RaiderLife.com. You could also catch the episodes on The Grueling Truth. This week we had Jeff Barnes, 2-time Super Bowl winner, on, and Jake the Snake Roberts. And later this week we're going to have Hacksaw Jim Duggan wrestling classic there. So, it's going to be a great episode. But appreciate coming on. Had a good time with you guys. And
hey, we're
Raiders,
sorry
baby.
about Oz with the random laughter when everybody else talks. He's just a disrespectful ass.
Man,
Hacksaw got him.
WWF.
Well, you know what? If you go back and listen to the college football show from 2 weeks ago, you can hear Brian put him in his place.
There we go.
It was awesome.
No, actually, it was this show.
You definitely,
Actually,
was it this show?
Yeah, it was this show.
Yeah, it was this show. All right. I don't think any of these guys were here to hear it but me and Matt, though, because I think it was just me, Matt, and Coop, and Oz then. But that was good stuff. Also, like Oz said before, and I agree with him on this, we got to agree on one thing for the year. But every show on this network is very good. You get former NFL players, talking about the games. But definitely, if somebody on this show is not any good, we get rid of their ass. That brings me to the Green Bay Packers Weekly Show, where we've got former Green Bay Packer quarterback Don Horn. He'll be with Joe Pritchard to preview this week's upcoming battle against the New York Giants. You won't want to miss that show, one of the best shows on the network. Don's a great guy, and he was a starting quarterback for the Packers, threw for 400 yards in a game. He also started for the Denver Broncos for a couple of years. Did I cover everybody here? I believe so. I don't think I left anybody out. You can also check out me and Joe Kelly with our season review of the Cincinnati Bengals season. I don't know. It's been a bad year. But the Bengals will be back.
But it's a new year now.
Huh?
But now it's a new year.
Yeah, and we're undefeated in the new year, and we blew out Baltimore, and we're probably the best team in the AFC. They just won't let us in the playoffs because of that stupid-ass rule about your record.
Yeah, we should vote on it.
Yeah, so it should. There should be a vote. But make sure you check out our NCAA Football Championship preview show with myself, Oz Davis, Brian Schmidt, and former Alabama, started for Crimson Tide, 78-79 for Bear Bryant, won back-to-back national championships, Bill Searcy. We did that show earlier tonight. That show will probably post Friday morning, maybe Thursday evening, so make sure you check out that on thegruelingtruth.net. Check out all of the articles. Check out all the shows. Like I said, Charlie Boots, you go check his shows on The Grueling Truth. You'll see interviews with Fred Bolitnikoff, Ted Hendricks, guys like that. Does a great show there. Make sure you check out the Cowboy Show of Mark Cooper. I think you had Doug Donnelly last week, didn't you?
Right, yeah, Doug Donnelly.
And he had Eddie Metter the week before, who's a friend of the show, that you can also find a complete interview of Eddie Metter. So remember to check out our sponsor, Gridiron Mo, at www.gridironmo.com. So we're going to wrap this up, and we're going to see if I can remember everybody's name while I wrap it up. So for Chris Cook, Oz Davis, Matt Andruscavage, Brian Schmidt, Ed Cohen, and Charlie Boots, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.